It's time for dating. Our next speakers are going to talk about that. OLGA PETRUNINA, CEO at PURAP, MARSHA CHINICHIAN, Chief Science Officer at Mindshine, moderated by WITT, staff writer at The New Yorker, the author of Future Sex.
Welcome back, everybody, to the continuation of our amazing program here at Emerge Day 1. This particular panel is already a favorite of mine. This is a subject close to my heart. Let's think about it. How do we find love or sex via dating apps, and how is that different to how it happens in real life? It's something that we've all had to get used to since there's a pandemic on. Does online help us to open up, or do we get stuck into this indulgence that remote and partly anonymous connections provide us with? Here to discuss this and to moderate this panel, I very much would like to introduce the author of Future Sex and staff writer at The New Yorker, Emily WITT, who will introduce her two panelists. Emily, it's over to you.
Hi, it's very good to be here and welcome everybody. And I'm actually going to let them introduce themselves. We have Olga, who's here from Pure, the dating app, and we have Dr. Marsha, who is a clinical psychologist. So maybe Olga, do you want to tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm CEO of Pure app, it's a sex dating app. So hi, everyone.
And Marsha?
Hi, everyone. I'm a clinical psychologist and an adjunct professor at Pepperdine University, and I work in the realm of business psychology and private practice, helping families and individuals kind of learn more about themselves in order to lead themselves.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, we're here today. I think I'm excited about this panel too because I had a pandemic breakup. And I started online dating again for the first time in more than 10 years. And I was excited to see what had changed and what was the same. And I actually met somebody online for the first time that I connected with, but we live in different cities, so I'm still dating. And so this is a topic near and dear to my heart. And yeah, I'll just get into it. So Olga, you're going to be defending the online dating side. So tell us, what are the best advantages of online dating? I know this is an old debate, but it's one that never really gets old. And what does it give you when you're searching for a person that real life does not? And obviously during the pandemic, there are some major advantages, but go for it.
Yeah, for me, it's very strange to compare online and offline dating actually, because it's talking about mobile phones and internet and how they reflect in our traditional life. So for me, it's just the easy way to connect with the people. It's the same like social media, and actually all the datings, they are moving into social media and just connecting people platform. But in dating, they are coming for the reason for romantic or sex relationships. So yeah, for me, it's pretty the same, but maybe in online dating, you have a better variety. You have more options to choose, and you can be more cold-minded. Because in offline meeting, if it's not planned and it's not your friends or family connected you with someone, but you meet someone accidentally in a bar or in a restaurant, whatever. In Moscow, we don't have any lockdown for last year. So, if you're meeting someone in the bar, you are reflected, and your emotions are reflected by a lot of different options, how the person would look like, how is it, the smell or the atmosphere in the place where you meet. So in online, it's mostly cold-minded, and you are just paying more attention on IQ, on messaging behavior, because I saw the study about how women are paying a lot of attention to how person are just easy to communicate, how easy to communicate with the person via just online messaging. And for me, it's just normal way to meet new people. That's my point of view.
Okay, and Marsha, you're here to argue the IRL encounter in favor of it. And, messaging, a lot of times people are good at messaging, but maybe not so great at conversation. And, our sense of humor, the way we interact with the world is actually held in our bodies. So I'm just curious, yeah, how you would argue, how do you find people out in the real world and why might it be better or worse?
Absolutely. And, as much as we're here to kind of debate, I also couldn't agree more with Olga. It's a numbers game. Being online allows you to have access to way more people. And it allows you to maybe potentially meet someone that you would never meet in person because you would never cross paths. And the more people you engage with or connect with, then the chances are higher of maybe finding that one that you're really looking for. But it does come with a downside. I feel that dating online versus in person, it's a little bit more work to kind of make sure that your intentions are a lot more clear and you are doing the work. So, to really get to know someone without these nonverbal cues. And, kind of going through all of the steps to say, okay, does this conversation seem like it's enough? Well, maybe it's the way his tone of his voice or her tone of the voice that, you talk to. And it's kind of like, no, that tone doesn't really sit well with me with these types of words. Or, the other nonverbal cues that we really don't get online, but you've got to be able to maybe connect intellectually in some way first or with just words, and then be able to take it to the next step and say, okay, well, let's see how it goes in person. And you can't just say, oh, well, she or he has told me everything I want to hear. We're aligned. And then you meet in person and it doesn't line up. So the in-person engagement allows you to kind of take in, like we said, both nonverbal and verbal cues. But still, the intentional work and the paying attention to trying to get to know someone is still always going to be there, whether you're online or in person, whether you meet them through friends. There are many stories out there where people have met through friends and people are like, she's the greatest or he's the greatest. We've been friends for 10 years. And then they get set up and the relationship is actually not healthy. Or actually, there are parts of someone that was never shown in a friendship interaction, but in a relationship, other sides and other parts are really shown. So the work never ends; it's always there. And so, to me, I think it's important that each person is very clear of what they want, and they pay attention to who they're really meeting and where the other person is at, for there to be a real connection.
Mm. Yeah, the nonverbal cues is a very important part. I mean, when I online date, I actually just try to meet the person that I'm interested in as quickly as possible. I'm one of those people that doesn't like chit chat. But Olga, I'm wondering, in the absence of nonverbal cues and physical body language, how can people, form a bond or an attachment when they're first getting to know each other? Like, I can think of things like the quickness with which somebody might respond to my messages, or the emojis they use, whatever. But do you have any advice?
Yeah, I just want to add something, mostly like insight from the industry. Like all the datums, they add video chats, and it's very useful function actually. So even in Pure, we have a video chat, and people can talk online with video, and even use a mask if they don't want to show their identity, because we are sex dating. So it's like they can do virtual sex or whatever via video. So body language and how the person communicate offline is pretty the same with the video. So here I can argue about that. And also even we recommend to the people to talk via video chat before they don't meet each other in reality, because it will exclude possible, I don't know, if the person send photos which is not really belong to the person or whatever. So they can check everything online and after that organize a meeting. Regarding to, also I have some numbers to it, which will be interesting, I think, for everyone. For example, I saw a research from Chicago University, and they mentioned that the rate of marital breakups who met online was 25% lower than the offline meetings. So it's very interesting. And even for LGBT community, it's I don't know, I think that 70% of all the LGBT community, they are connecting via online dating apps. So so for them, it's main way to communicate. And all the datings, they're trying to separate the auditory. So it's easy to find that kind of people with that type of mind that you really need. So, for example, talking about pure, you'll find very open-minded people who are bold and they can be open in their desires, and it's very interesting atmosphere and the way of communicating. Like, for example, talking about my site, Pure, when I became a CEO Pure, I never used any kind of datings before. So for me, it was like jumping in a new world with absolutely different type of people, because it's very interesting. I found that most of the person who using sex dating, they have a kind of type of mind which is very close to mine. So they are very open. They can share their I don't know, sexual preferences, their desires, and talk very openly in the app. So for me, it's very important to be very honest in the relationships. So maybe this is kind of their important point. So people online can be much more open and honest compared to offline, because offline you trying to show off, and sometimes it's very hard to talk honesty with your date. So then you're meeting each other for the first time, for example. But online you can be rather open, and sometimes conversation starts with the very bold communication about your preferences and in sex, and after that moving into the date, and after that I know moving into the marriage, because we are receiving a lot of messages and stories from our users who really, they have kids, they have families, they're so happy that they found the same like-minded person in the app. So for me, and even according to my experience and my boyfriend, I also met him in Pure. It's much better platform and atmosphere to communicate compared to offline dating.
Okay, yeah. So apps do give you, you know, if you met somebody at a bar, you might not know if they're single. You might not know if they are single, what kind of relationship they might be looking for. They're definitely probably not going to tell you about their spanking fetish on drink one. So for MARSHA, when you meet somebody in real life and you are interested in them, you do have some of these barriers. And how do you kind of like subtly let people know that you're open to certain things, that you are looking to form an attachment without, I think the hard part is a lot of times you end up embarrassing yourself when you hit on somebody. And online, there's just kind of more mutual understanding, the mutual opt-in, as they call it. So yeah, do you have any advice?
I mean, yes, it feels kind of a little bit more safe to be online. We also see the opposite of it, both positive and not so positive, where we see people write comments that they would never say in person, but they do it online. And so we're very familiar with both sides of this coin. But in person, it still takes some guts and a little bit of courage to be able to put yourself out there, or to try to talk to someone and get to know them. And getting to know them, it's also asking people, so, are you single? Or asking some of these bold questions that I think I want to speak that many men and women shy away from because they don't want to spoil the moment or the feeling of rejection or being a bit vulnerable. But there's no shame in asking someone, hey, what are you looking for on a first or second connection? And if they're going to be honest and intentional, that's going to be on them. That can be both online or in person, of what someone's intentions are or what they really are looking for. There's a percentage of people that show up honestly and are conscious, and there's always going to be a percentage of people both online and in person that are not fully there, that are not showing up their true self. So I think just being able to be bold enough to just ask directly, the sooner the better. And Emily, you mentioned you were the type, and there's so many different strategies. You're the type that you want to meet someone quite quickly in person. You don't want to spend the time small chatting or paying attention to the consistency of the messaging or the topics that they're talking to you about. Because for you, this energy exchange, it sounds like, is more important. It's like, I got to really feel this thing before I'm going to continue to connect even verbally. Mm-hmm. And that's one strategy, and many people do that type of strategy, and some people also go about it in a different way. I need to connect. I need to talk to this person a little bit longer before I waste my time or I take the time to go and meet in person, because otherwise I'm meeting so many people and I feel disappointed every time I'm meeting with them because there's just nothing there, and I should just spend a little bit more time up front. Everyone's got their strategy and what feels right, safe, or good to them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's interesting, the wasting your time thing, because one complaint you often hear about online dating is that it's hard. There's so many options. There's so many people. How do you choose? Like, like I said, I just recently met somebody, and the really strange thing about it for me was the second I saw his profile, I kind of knew that I was really interested in him, which never happened to me before. Usually I'm like, this guy seems great. This guy seems great. Like, this guy also seems funny and charming. And, is there a risk sometimes that there's like, oh God, that there's too much out there, and that, in real life, you're more likely to really pay attention to somebody, and online sometimes you get this like, it's just really hard to discern how you feel about people because there's so many of them.
It's always hard to choose, actually, in every area of our life. I mean, as for me, what are the dating industry now, like what they are doing for the future? Most of the dating apps, they're using algos, but algos actually, it's very hard to set up like really dedicated algos, because people, they don't want to feel a lot of information about them in the dating, so they are just adding photos and writing like, I don't know, 3 words about them, and that's why the big data, like, we don't have enough data for building an algorithm that really work. So for me, like, we are moving a bit in a different space. We are trying to gamify the data collection about the users. So if people will share more and more, and it will look like for them like game, I think the algos will work much better. So it's in our roadmap to build this type of collecting data about personality and their preferences. I don't know, turn-ons, kinks, turn-offs, whatever. So as for me, if dating will develop mostly the collecting data about the personality and trying to build right algos, it will help to choose. Absolutely. So for us, it's the main direction. In offline, it's also the same. Like you are choosing the right place or like right circle to find someone, and it's decreasing the variety. The same in online. So I think we will be there in the future, like in that all that TV series about the future of dating. Then you are, I don't know, testing your DNA, and after that you will find the perfect match or something like that. So maybe in the future we will move into this type of perfectly working algos, which will provide the best match for you. I hope so. So yeah.
Yeah, and Marsha, I mean, you know, is there, as somebody who studies attachment and thinks a lot about attachment, does all of this multiplicity threaten commitment? Does it threaten your ability to sort of focus on somebody in the long term, and or is it something that, like, you know, as soon as things start to go a little south, you just open up your app and find novelty again? Is that something you worry about?
I mean, it is a thing. I know people in many cities around the world when I visit, that this is a common coffee talk when I meet with people of, oh, did you see so-and-so's husband or so-and-so's boyfriend on, you know, Bumble? Or did you see, so, you know, this is something that does exist. It does make things a lot more convenient and really simple to connect. And so it's so important, or to meet or to have shameless, casual sexual encounters. It's really, really easy. So it's so important that the relationship and the commitment and the bond is there, and it's strong. And that takes effort. That takes ongoing effort of relationships. Why they say marriages and relationships are so hard. It's hard work. Because there's a lot going on. There's a lot more choice. There's a lot more options. There's a lot more ways to avoid and escape. Maybe the pandemic didn't allow as much ways to hide and run away from problems, or run towards choices. It kind of grounded the whole world a little bit. And many people are having this conversation of, okay, I'm really learning what's important for me. A lot of relationships didn't go well during this pandemic. Things surfaced that maybe was there for a long time. All information that are good to know. But I also am a big advocate for couples therapy, even when there's not a problem, to be able to have this talk. I strongly encourage people to read a book called Attached by Amir Levine, which talks about your attachment style. And because this is very fluid, your attachment style can change based on your relationship and experiences. And it also is really wonderful because it's repairable, and a secure attachment, which means a healthier relationship, a healthier closeness to another person, is very possible. So learning more about your own attachment style, it's science-based. Being in couples therapy, my favorite one that's been really supported by the most research and the best outcomes is called EFT, Emotionally Focused Therapy for Couples. Well, most broadly empirically validated treatment out there. And, you know, to do the work, it's endless work to just check in and really identify what's our underlying emotions and experiences. And we all crave and yearn for closeness and bonding. It's part of our human need and happiness. So we all hopefully are striving for it, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're dating online or in person, or in a long-term relationship or short-term.
So true. And the subject never really gets old. I mean, I could talk about this all day. I think Stuart's about to come back to us. And yeah, we're wrapping it up, but we will, you know, we may be in the speaker's lounge. I'll go there for a few minutes and say hi if anybody wants to chat there. And thank you both. It was really fun talking.
Thank you.